Who was that?
Councillor Mackenzie's phone. I think we're ready to go, Mayor.
We're ready to start the meeting.
Yes, Mayor.
Good evening, councillors, officers, and members of the public. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of council held this evening on 15th of June 2021. And of course, in these COVID times, we are now unfortunately having to meet online again. So firstly, before I proceed, I better make sure I get everything in order. We have to, as required by the Minister for Local Government, do a councillor roll call so that councillors can, we know the councillors can see and hear each other. So firstly, Councillor Rossetti.
I can see you visually and hear you orally.
Thank you. Councillor Crosley.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Marr.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Bye.
Yes, I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Mackenzie.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Tatterson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I can see and hear you clearly.
Thank you. Councillor Ripper.
See and hear, Mayor.
And Councillor Wood.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, councillors, and I can see and hear you all as well. So welcome and thank you for your attendance. Firstly, the council meeting information. As we enter another COVID-19 lockdown, the Minister's Good Practice Guideline NGPG1 applies for virtual meetings, and that's issued by the Minister for Local Government. Pursuant to Section 87 of the Local Government Act 2020, these guidelines ensure that local government decision-making can continue in line with COVID-19 restrictions, and further details can be found on the Local Government Victoria website. These guidelines took effect from 1st of May 2020 and will remain in place through to the 26th of April 2022. While members of the public cannot attend this meeting in person, we have provided options for you to interact with us virtually via our council meetings page on the Wellington Shire Council website. You are able to interact with council in two ways. Email a specific question or comment relating to a particular councillor agenda item no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the council meeting, or for general questions to council via the online web form early in this meeting to ensure that your questions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. While we maintain a virtual way of gathering, we thank you for your ongoing support. Next is acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. And next is the council prayer. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Next, we have apologies. There are no apologies, I believe. No.
All present, Mayor.
Yep. Thank you very much. Now, just before proceeding further, I'd just like to make a few observations with the leave of council. Yes. Firstly, on behalf of Wellington Shire Council, I express our deepest sympathy to the family and friends of our Wellington Shire community member who tragically lost his life during the flood event last week. Our thoughts are with him and with the communities around Woodside during this extremely difficult time for all. A severe storm and very high winds hit our region on Wednesday the 9th of June with widespread damage to property and assets. Significant rainfall in the catchments of all Wellington Shire's rivers resulted in flooding in many of our townships and communities. There has been damage to people's homes, properties, businesses and mental health. Many roads and infrastructure were damaged by falling trees and debris, landslips and floodwater. Our town's open spaces and state and national parks have been hit hard. The reports that I received directly from our local SES volunteers and from local Shire staff indicated the conditions last Wednesday evening were the worst and scariest that people had ever seen. So the work to understand the impact of what happened economically, socially, and to the built and national environment is only just starting, and assessments to inform repair and recovery planning is now starting as access to damaged areas improves. Unfortunately, widespread power outages from the storm left thousands of people in the state without power, and there are still at least 500 households in the Wellington Shire alone who are about to spend their 7th night without electricity. This has been an extremely difficult time for people who have had their food spoiled, gone without showers and heating during cold winter weather, and had difficulty accessing drinking water. And communications have been affected, and in many areas this has led to a great deal of distress and frustration for older people, particularly with towers and fixed line exchanges all losing battery backup power because of the length of the outage. And the council knows from people calling our emergency relief line, attending relief barbecues in isolated communities, and dropping into our emergency relief centres yesterday, particularly Yarram, that people are tired and struggling with how long the power outages are lasting. And for some, their clean-up is only just beginning to commence. I want to sincerely thank our emergency response partners, emergency services, volunteers, council roads and emergency management staff for the work that they have done to keep our community safe and for working together to provide basic relief services to our community while we wait for electricity and communication providers to get us back up and connected. So I wish everyone well, and I hope that we'll soon have all our community back online. It just goes to show just how much we now rely on new technology, on the internet, and I suppose modern technologies are all round. And without electricity, we're basically pretty much blind. So thank you, councillors, for that indulgence. And I'll now move on with the agenda. Are there any conflicts of interest to be declared? No, thank you. Next is the confirmation of minutes of the previous council meeting.
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Please proceed.
I move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the unscheduled council meeting of the 27th of May 2021 and ordinary council meeting of the 1st of June 2021.
Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to move that, Mayor.
That was Councillor Marr seconding.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to that recommendation? No, I declare that carried. You right there, Councillor Boy?
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Good, thank you very much. Business arising, there is no business arising that I'm aware of. Acceptance of late and urgent items, I don't believe that there are any of those. There are no notices of motion. Next is receiving of petitions or joint letters, and there is a new petition.
I'm happy to move that, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cosley. Would you proceed?
I move that Council receive the attached petition in relation to a request for the removal of a number of trees next to the bus stop opposite Hillcrest Estate, Boisdale Street, Maffra, to provide a safer area for those utilising the area to drop off and collect children who use the bus, as detailed in attached 1.
Thank you, Councillor Cosley. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Boy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Boy. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I'll declare it carried. Thank you, Councillor Cosley.
Just to say, this is the normal process that we receive these petitions, and that will be dealt with at a later meeting. This gives the officers time to properly research the issue that's been raised. And also, can I thank the community for raising this issue, but also to let people know that there's also a customer action system that if they write into the council, those sort of things can be addressed through that system as well. But certainly happy to receive this petition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cosley. The next item 8 is invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. Councillor Marr.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I have been requested by the Port Albert Maritime Museum to acknowledge a lovely letter that was received to them from the Governor of Victoria, the Honourable Linda Dessau. The letter is a lovely one acknowledging that the museum is a gem with the breadth of exhibits, which was a wonderful surprise to her, as was the inclusion of the bank's history and the old gazettes. And the members at the time actually found the page that referenced the Governor's Victorian flag, and she was very much touched that they were able to do that with what they had there. And she also advised them that it's and congratulated them that the museum was a great testament to volunteerism, which runs throughout our whole shire, as we know. So I said that I was quite happy to do that, and the letter is currently sitting in a frame on the wall at the museum, and the museum staff are all very tickled pink. So thank you, Mayor.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Councillor Marr. Yeah, I think if I'd let the CEO settle in, he'd still be there reading the about 100 years of government gazettes that they've got there. It's fascinating, actually. So
I'm sure he would be there.
So that was interesting. Yeah, and they did a really good. I was very impressed too, Councillor Marr, that they'd found that proclamation. Apparently there's some type of online index that you can access. So it was it was a very nice gesture. Yes, the Governor was clearly impressed. So thank you very much for that. Second, Councillor Mackenzie, you had something in this section you'd like to raise.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My presentation is around the vaccination, so I'd like to just ask Wellington, let's lead the way and get vaccinated. So what can we do? Wellington could lead the way for our community to start fast tracking and getting the COVID jab. COVID is not something we can see at the moment. It manages us, so we need to start managing it. Let's be that shire that leads the way in protecting not only ourselves, but our fellow neighbour, friend, family member, or just that person we pass in the street, in the shops, or in open spaces. My wife and I received our first COVID jab at the England Street Medical Centre in Sale, and can say from first-hand experience that the work they are doing is first class. We rang up one day and the following day had the jab. They are there to help us all. Both reading and listening to commentary on COVID, they say that the level government would like to see vaccinated within communities is around 80%. That will allow for much better monitoring of this virus. So as a community, we have a figure to aim for. In the past year, Victoria has been through 4 lockdowns, and the effect on families, the elderly, businesses and the like have been debilitating, and their future effect on our community of mental health will be immeasurable. No one has been immune from the effects of COVID on their lives. So the resourceful community of Wellington, let's lead the way. Let's get vaccinated so we can all get back to some form of normality. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much for those comments, Councillor Mackenzie. Next item on the agenda is questions on notice. We haven't got any. Next item is the Mayor and Council's report, item 10.1.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the Mayor and Councillors' report be noted.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder?
I can second that.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Ripper.
I'll just pull out 2 or 3 reports here. I've got the Rural Council's Victoria Media Training. Was attended by Councillors Crossley, By, Marr, Wood, Taddison. That's always important to do when councillors may get called upon to speak with the media. Also, Councillor Wood attended the Youth Council meeting. Councillor Rossetti attended the Municipal Association of Victoria State Council meeting in Melbourne. And the Mayor came over to Sale and aptly opened the Anglican Church Fair. They're just a few things that come out of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper, and you were doing a wonderful job at the Stratford Anglican Church Fair with your megaphone in hand. I had no chance of out shouting you. So thank you very much. Next item 11, is the reports of delegates. I don't believe we have any delegates reports. Item 12.1 is the Chief Executive Officer's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move that.
Please proceed.
I move that the Chief Executive Officer's report be received.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I can second that.
Councillor Ripper. Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. Is there any opposition to that recommendation being adopted? No. I declare it carried. Councillor Rossetti.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to pick out one item in there, which was the Rural Council's Victoria Summit at Mitchelton. We had a terrific presentation there from Bernard Stolt, who many would have seen his work. It's been quite extensive as a demographer. He's often in the weekend newspapers and things, or commentating on many elements of demography. He's actually put together a piece of work commissioned by rural councils, which will feed into a lot of the work we do around our communities. But I have to say, the one thing that really I picked up from that presentation was the ages of our rural communities. We all know that we lose youngsters when they head off to uni, or indeed quite often, the bright lights. But it was really quite interesting. If I could show you the graph, you'd see it, dip down and then come back up again in the late 40s, early 50s. And we've seen quite a bit of change with COVID, where that dip comes back, where people move back to the country as they've got a family, as they want to do the tree change, sea change. But his commentary there was really around, it's going to be difficult for us to stop people, young people taking up those opportunities of university and other things. But the challenge for us is to bring people back that little bit earlier. And it's true. It's exactly what I'm sure we all see around our communities. Our people do start bringing their family up and thinking, well, do I really want them to live in that little apartment in the middle of town, or in an area where they don't know their neighbours, or do I want them in such a beautiful part of the countryside like Wellington Shire? So there's a whole lot of learnings to come from that demographic work, and certainly look forward to it coming back to be presented to council to understand how we can really profit from that work that's been done. The conference itself was, the summit itself had all the usual elements that were quite useful, hearing different stories about things like there was a presentation on East Gippsland's mobile recovery service after the bushfires. So where people weren't able to get into the main offices to access recovery services, they had a bus. The East Gippsland Council had a bus, and they spoke about that went out to all the small communities. And they were joined by things like the Centrelink bus and other services, which was quite good to see how fairly simple elements could be adapted to actually make the experience for the people who've been impacted much better. So very worthwhile. And could I say to also on the MAV conference that I went to, that was mentioned in the Councillors' activity report, that was lovely to be able to get together again with the 79 councils at the Melbourne Town Hall face-to-face. That's the first face-to-face for a very long time. And again, getting in the same room together, you can start looking at things like just different policies that we have across the councils, and working out better ways of being able to service our communities. That's all I think I'll pick up now. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. The next item is 12.2, the May 2021 Council Plan highlights.
Councillor
Crosley, thank you.
Thank you. I move that Council receive and note the May 2021 Council Plan highlights as attached.
Thank you. Someone like to second that?
I'm happy to second that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor
Thank you very much, Councillor Marr. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, happy to declare that carried. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just pick out a few of the highlights. One of the standouts for me was that Wellington Shire joined with 46 other councils in the Victorian Energy Collaboration, VECO, one of the largest emission reduction project undertaken by local government in Australia, to have a power purchase agreement with the green energy wind farms in the western part of Victoria to provide not only a cost-effective power resource, but a clean and green energy power source, which will have over 260,000 tonnes of carbon emissions saved over the duration of the project. And Wellington has sourced 25% of our electricity through this collaboration, and that's basically our public areas in Sale of the Port of Sale, the Wedge, and the business centre in there. So that's really going to assist in our efforts towards net zero. Another one of the items that I'd like to draw attention to, and it was quite timely, that in May there were exercises by the staff in training for the emergency relief centres and to adopt the new circumstances of the processes under the COVID restrictions. So, as I say, very timely, because our personnel were then had to kick into gear for this last emergency event. And as was stated by the Mayor, they did a sterling job in supporting our community, so congratulations to them. But it does show that these planning and trainings is crucial so that our teams are ready to respond efficiently and effectively when required. Another response has been, I think, a great boon to the community is the nimbleness of the library services. As soon as there's a lockdown and change of services due to COVID, they can immediately swing into the process of click and collect, which has been really well received by our community across the Shire. So congratulations to the team there. Another thing that was great over May was that the campaign to acknowledge our volunteers across Wellington, Volunteer Week by Be Kind to Wellington and Thank You campaign. This was launched in the Be Kind to Wellington Facebook page group and really had a great response. There was a prize. There's always good to have a prize of a $250 shop voucher for in Wellington, and also a $250 donation to the community group who were the recipients or the choice of the winning volunteer. They had some 70 nominees were received, to 20,000 views and 10,000 engagements in the Facebook jargon, so that obviously the community was really engaged in this process. So, and the main thing was really the highlights of the stories that were told through the Facebook page of the good things that were happening and the way that our communities responded. And this will be, the video will be, of these stories will be released in June when the winner of the campaign is announced. And if I could just sort of slip in another one that sort of highlights the volunteer work and the innovation of our volunteers, in that the Hayfield Hall Committee of Management has started to collate and share a calendar of events of all the Wellington halls. And I know that the Hayfield Committee is very active there, and it's got MOUs with other halls when we're having touring events of music and performances. So I think this is really a great way to make sure that there's not a conflict of dates, and that they get the best use out of the halls, and a multi-way of promoting the activities in our halls. So really, I commend the initiative of the Hayfield Hall Committee of Management. Well done. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your comments, Councillor Crosley. The next item on the agenda is 12.3, appointment of an acting Chief Executive Officer.
Happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor Bai.
Thank you, Councillor Bai. Go ahead.
I move the Council approve the temporary appointment of Arthur Skipper Taris, General Manager of Corporate Services for the period 24th of June to the 8th of July 2021, and Chris Hasey, General Manager of Built and Natural Environment for the period 9th of July to the 23rd of July 2021 as Acting Chief Executive Officers.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bye. We've got a seconder.
Second. Councillor.
Who was that? Councillor Wood?
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'm happy to declare it carried. Councillor Bye.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. It's always good in an organisation to reward someone with some well overdue holidays. Our CEO, Mr. Morecambe, has worked very, very hard through trying times and done a fantastic job, as we all expect. He deserves a holiday and he's going to take a well-earned break, which is fantastic. But unfortunately, he's going for more than 28 days. So that means we have to move who is going to be the acting CEOs because he's going for such a long time. So Arthur and Chris are going to do 2 weeks each and look after that role while our fabulous CEO is off in the Sunshine State. So good luck with your holiday.
Yes. And I hope that all us Victorians fleeing to the north can get out of the state, Councillor Boy.
Hopefully he can.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item is General Manager Corporate Services, item 13.1, Assembly of Councillors.
Happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor Boy again.
Go ahead, Councillor Boyd.
I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 24th of May 2021 to the 6th of June 2021.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second. Thank you.
Councillor Rossetti, thank you very much. Any opposition to that adoption of that recommendation? No. I declare that carried. Councillor Boyd.
All good, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyd. Item 13.2, adoption of the 21-22 budget and fees and charges, strategic resource plan and rates and service charges.
I'm happy to move that, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please proceed, Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that one, Council adopt the 2021-22 budget as attached, including fees and charges, 2021-22 and 22-23 budget allocation for the following multi-year projects: Kawa, the Streetscape Master Plan, Stage 2, $550,000. Maffra, Stormwater Retention Basin and Outfall Improvement Works, $550,000. Alberton, Great Southern Rail Trail Extension, Alberton to Welshpool, $4.7 million. Sale, York Street Streetscape Renewal, multi-year project, $5.39 million. Port of Sale, Mooring Access Improvements, $2.074 million. National Park Road Lot 4 Safety Treatments, $300,000. Bragalong Recreation Reserve Tennis Court Renewal, $571,000. Alberton West Sloping Bridge widening, $803,000. Seacombe Boat Ramp Upgrade, $443,000. Maffra Campbell Street to Fulton Drive Footpath Upgrade, $300,000. The two Council adopt the 2021-22 Strategic Resource Plan, and I'm happy to take the rest as read, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Councillor Wood.
Councillor Wood, thank you very much, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that series of recommendations in relation to the budget? If not, I'll declare them carried. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillors, for supporting the budget. It's obviously the major piece of work that we do each year. Council's budget was recently advertised for community feedback, and we received 11 submissions. And thank you to those 11 people or groups who submitted, which did make an impact on our budget, but very minor. We'll write to each of those submitters. The budget's total combined result reflects substantial state government grants, which are allocated to infrastructure projects, and that's quite typical. We rely on about 60% of our budget, give or take, is typically rates, and about 40% is other levels of government. So, but our true operating result, however, reflects a deficit, and we'll ensure that that's carefully managed. All the councillors are aware that the rate cap constrains us by only being able to raise our rate by 1.5%. which is the lowest the last 5 years, and it does impede the amount of revenue that we can raise. And of course, materials and service costs, many of which rise above the inflation rate. So it's meant that we've had to focus on maintaining or reducing costs where we can to ensure that our operations remain financially sustainable to the future. But we do look for other opportunities that lead the sector in improving our cost structure, at the same time providing efficient operational and community services.
It was 13.2 and 13.3?
That's right, Mayor.
Yeah, well, so 13.2 was the adoption of the 21-22 budget fees and charges and rates and service charges. So that was moved by Councillor Rossetti and seconded by Councillor Wood, Mr. CEO, and it was adopted without any opposition, as set out in the whole number of recommendations set out in the council agenda. Item 13.3, the Audit and Risk Committee minutes. They were moved by Councillor Mackenzie, seconded by Councillor By, and were adopted without any opposition, as set out in the council agenda. Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor.
So now we'll move on to, item 13.5 is the approval of an instrument of appointment and authorisation under the Planning Environment Act for Mr. Alex Duncan. I just need a mover for that.
That's Councillor Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wood. Please proceed.
I move that Council, in the exercise of the powers conferred by Section 224 of the Local Government Act 1989, called the Act, Section 147.4 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, and other legislation referred to in the attached instruments of Council resolution and of appointment and authorisation, resolve that 1. Council Officer Alex Duncan be appointed and authorised as set out in the instruments as provided at attachments 1 and 2, and 2. The S11A instrument of appointment and authorisation be signed and sealed by the Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that instrument of delegation? No. I will declare that recommendation carried. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. An appointment of a council officer to be an authorised officer for the administration and enforcement of a number of acts as set out in S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation. Council officers authorised under Section 313 of the Local Government Act 2020 can institute proceedings for offences against acts and regulations as described in Attachment 2. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wood. Item 14.1 is the quarterly building report, January to March 2021. I need a mover of that recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move that.
Please proceed, Councillor Marr.
I move that Council note the report of building permits issued from the 1st of January 2021 to the 31st of March 2021.
Thank you. We're going to have a seconder for that.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Crosley. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I will declare that recommendation carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. Building permits are issued by private surveyors and filed to Council where they're recorded on the building register. At the attachment number 1, it provides details of the town, number of permits issued and the value of works. And at attachment 2, the number of building permits and value of works. 341 permits were issued at a total of just over $60 million. And part of this, we can see for sale, the new TAFE facility works are added, which is really good to see. There's also been a high level of development increases in new estates, particularly around Longford, Maffra and Stratford, which is wonderful to see. However, there's been a lot of coastal works as well along the, within Wellington Shire. And it's certainly a good thing to see, and probably as a result of many people moving to regional Vic as a result of COVID. So it's certainly showing that Wellington is the place to live. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Maher. Item 14.2 is the April 2021 Planning Decisions Report.
I'm happy to move that again, Mayor, as well.
Thank you, Councillor Maher. Please proceed.
I move that Council note the report on recent planning permit trends and planning application determinations between the 1st of April and 30th of April 2021.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Bai.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Bai. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I therefore declare that recommendation carried. Councillor Maher.
I have nothing more to add. Thank you, Mayor.
No, thank you very much, Councillor Maher. Item 14.3 is the adoption of the Community Local Law 2021.
I'm happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Crosby. Proceed.
I move that Council 1 revoke Local Laws 2 to 5 2011, 2 adopt the Community Local Law 2021, including the Community Impact Statement and legal certification as attached. 3, publish a notice in the Government Gazette and on Council website stating the title, objectives and effect of the Community Local Law 2021, and 4, make the Community Local Law 2021 available for public inspection at the Council office and on its website.
Thank you, Councillor Crosby. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Wood.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of the Community Local Law 2021? No. I will declare the recommendation carried. Thank you, Councillor Crosby.
Thank you, Mayor. This is really a consolidation of the Street Roads Local Law. Number 2, 2011, the Municipal Places Local Law. Number 3, 2011, Environment Local Law. Number 4, 2011, and Livestock Local Law. Number 5, 2011. So as I say, this is a consolidation into the Community Local Law 2021. This will make both administration of the local law and also of the communities able to access this, so there'll be greater compliance and assistance, so they just have to go to one document to find the rules and regs. And so it just makes things easier. This was decided and advertised in February, and which gave it through to April, a couple of months for the community to respond to this advertised new local law. The submissions were assessed, and now we've come to this stage where we're accepting this new local law. So as I say, it's going to be an improvement both for the officers and for the community to understand where everybody stands. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Crosby. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you for that. Next item is up to item 15.1 is the adoption of the Road Management Plan.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Councillor Ripper. Proceed.
I'd like to move that Council adopt the Road Management Plan 2021, following a review pursuant to provisions of the Road Management General Regulation 2016.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Maher's happy to move that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Maher. Is there any opposition to the adoption of the updated Road Management Plan? No. I'll declare it carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinary meeting of the Council held on the 16th of March 2021, Council authorised the issue of a notice to amend the Road Management Plan, pursuant to the Section 10 of the Road Management General Regulation 2016. A notice was published in line with Council's resolution, inviting submissions from all members of the community. As a result, 12 submissions were received, which were subsequently reviewed by council officers and councillors. Submissions related to requests to be added to Council Register of Public Roads, as well as other matters in relation to the draft plan. None of the requests to be included in Council's Register of Public Roads met the criteria in the Draft Road Management Plan 2021 for inclusion. No changes are proposed to the criteria as a result of the review. Our Wellington Shire manages a public road network in excess of 3,100 kilometres. Now that'd be wonderful if our people in lockdown but are able to get out and about in the Wellington Shire, even cut that amount in half and travelled around the Wellington Shire. I think your eyes would be open to some wonderful things in the Shire. The road management plan is based on establishing objectives that allow the safe and efficient management of the road network. Wellington Shire Council will make all reasonable endeavours to meet the requirements set out in the road management plan. However, in events beyond Wellington Shire Council's control, such as natural disasters, as you would be aware, we currently have a flood that has curtailed travelling over certain roads at the moment. However, the Shire and other emergency management are working in that area to clear the same, including but not limited to fires, floods, droughts and other factors, including limited financial, human or other resources. Wellington Shire Council reserves the right to suspend compliance with its road management plan. Now, a lot of questions I get asked, if those in the councillors or in the public, the Register of Public Roads. So the Road Management Act 2004 determines a road authority must keep a register of public roads, specifically the public roads for which it is the coordinating road authority. The Wellington Shire Council Register of Public Roads includes the roads that are managed in accordance with the Road Management Plan, public roads in which Wellington Shire Council is the coordinating road authority in determining conjunction Section 17 of the Road Management Act 2004. Now, the Wellington Shire Council Register of Roads is available to access via download of the internet. However, not everyone has the internet. So at some stage, if you would like to visit the Wellington Shire Sales Service Centre in Disraeli Street, you will be able to have a read through the relevant roads. Or if you aren't in this area, you can visit Yarram Service Centre. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much, and I can assure you it's ripping reading, Councillor Ripper.
Oh, thank you, Mayor.
Pardon, that was a pun that I didn't even intend. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 15.2 is the tender to award the emptying and cleaning of town litter bins under contract 2021-081. I'd like to have a mover of that recommendation.
I'm happy to move that, Mayor.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Marr.
I move that Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential tender evaluation report of the Council meeting agenda for contract 2021-081, emptying and cleaning of town litter bins, and paragraph 2 as read. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marr. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I'll declare the recommendation carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. This is to appoint a qualified contractor to empty bins across various towns within Wellington Shire as listed. As per Council Plan Strategy 3.1.3, it's to manage and maintain Council's high quality, attractive open spaces and streetscapes in accordance with agreed service levels. And we certainly all know that this is of a high priority to most residents within these townships, particularly those that have a high influx of day trippers and tourists, as everyone is proud of where they live and they will certainly be quite interested to see that there will be a new contractor appointed. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Maher. And I'm pleased to announce that the successful tenderer for this contract is Tambo Waste. Thank you. Item 15.3 is the extension of the Waste Services Contract 2008-155. I need someone to move that recommendation.
Mayor, I will move that for you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. Please proceed.
I move 1. Authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign a deed of agreement for the extension of the existing Waste Services Contract 2008/115 from 1 July 2021 to 30 June 2022. And 2. Authorise the Chief Executive Officer to provide a variation certificate towards Zero Propriety Limited, the transport and processing of recyclables for the period 1 July 2021 to 30th of June 2022 under contract number 2008/115.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation, please?
I'm happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Councillor Tatterson. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'm pleased to declare that it's carried. Councillor Ripper.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Curbside waste. Now, today was bin day in the area where I live. It's a very, very important that we have our curbside waste picked up, not only picked up, distributed to the relevant areas in a respectful and a energy efficient way. Now, Wellington Shire Council are participating in the Gippswide Curbside Initiative. Now, this is a joint procurement initiative supported by Recovery Gippsland to jointly procure curbside waste collection and processing services. Tendering will commence in stages over the next few months with the intention of having the service in place in Wellington by July 2022. So we look forward to that, and we need to deal with our waste. We are getting more and more waste continually, and if you have ever out or see some drone pictures of Kilmany, of where they're continuing to build cells, they fill up quickly. So we need to deal with it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. And moving on, the next item is item 16.1, is the use of school buses in regional and rural areas. And this is a draft submission in relation to the government's call for a reply. I just need someone to adopt the recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to do that.
Please proceed. Thank you, Councillor Maher. Please proceed.
Thanks, Mayor. I move that Council approves the attached submission to the Victorian Legislative Council's inquiry into the use of school buses to get rural and regional Victoria moving.
Thank you very much, Councillor Maher. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to that recommendation? If not, I'm very pleased to declare it carried. Councillor Maher.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This is certainly an ongoing conversation that's been occurring locally, particularly with those outlying townships to sale. What it has asked us to do is investigate the use of school buses within the rural and regional areas to promote connectivity, which we all know is sadly lacking. The Victorian Legislative Assembly has agreed to investigate and analyse this proposal, which is wonderful, and it's therefore been seeking submissions from local government, which is due on the 25th of June 2021. We have put together a submission that can be seen at the attachment. basically we have provided 6 recommendations, and I'll certainly I'll read the last recommendation, which whilst it sums up overall the issues. There are many broader issues, particularly with regard to transport gaps. As I certainly, as a frustrated parent for many years, saw myself driving backward and forwards, as many other parents do, with regard to getting children to sporting, social and medical appointments. However, it's not just parents that struggle with this. It's also those with disability, those who are worried about the wildlife on the road, driving late at night, as well as those who are vulnerable and can't actually afford the return trip or even maintenance of a car. So I'll read the last recommendation, 6, that pretty much sums up where we're all thinking. Because really there is no one magic bullet. The solution to transport challenges experienced in rural and regional Victoria. Cooperation needs to occur across all levels of government and within communities to enhance public, community and rideshare transport options and ensure that an equitable transport fare system is in place that is not based on the number of kilometres travelled during a journey, which I find is, when this is all being considered, that is it's very much key, because if we were actually looking at the kilometres travelled between Port Albert to Sale, I don't think too many of us could actually afford it. So we really need to ensure that affordability is just one of the considerations that we ask to be considered. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your comments, Councillor Ma. Next item is item 17, is further online comments. Mr. CEO, do we have any?
Sorry, Mayor, just unmuting. No, nothing in the chat room, Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Mr. CEO. Then the last item on the agenda is closed session, and I believe there's no need to move into closed session this evening. Therefore, that brings us to the end of the meeting. I'd just like to apologise again to anyone viewing that we had that glitch. It's interesting, that's the first time that we've had a glitch whilst we've been doing online meetings, if I can correctly recall. So therefore, I'll declare the meeting closed. My computer says it's 6:59 p.m. Thank you very much, councillors and officers, for your attendance. I won't wish you a safe trip home because